If you're in the market for a zero-turn mower, but you don't want to drop over $5 grand, you are in luck. Today, we're going over my top 5 zero-turn mowers under $5,000. Now, earlier this year, we did a top 5 list for the commercial mowers, and I'll say, when you get into the commercial end of zero-turn mowers, you are spending big time money, $12,000 to $20,000. That's just simply out of the budget for many people, and we want to come up with a video that's a little bit more practical. We have so many time people coming into our shop looking for a mower under that $5,000 price point, and this is the point. This is the point right here that you can get something that's more of a dealer quality mower versus everything you see at box stores, which is typically under that $4,000 price point. And I can't harp on that enough. The difference in a $3,500 to $4,000 mower to jump to that $5,000 price point, you are getting significantly better features. And it's really important that you tune in because we're gonna go in depth on my top 5 mowers. Now, one of those mowers that made it into the top 5 in the commercial mowers was Scag. Scag, you have made the list again with the SLS 61H mower. And I'll say this is new territory for Scag because Scag is known as those premium price points, those tank-like type feels, and it's really hard to get into a price point. Well, they've done it a few different ways with their Scag SLS 61H. One of the big ways in which they've done that is the transmission size on the mower. So when you think about a big 60-inch deck or 61-inch deck in this Scag, and I talk about a lot on the channel, I talk about transmissions. Typically, you're gonna see at least a ZT 2800 transmission. For you guys that are shopping at these mowers and you don't know what I'm talking about, transmissions can range from a ZT 2100 level to a ZT 5400 level. You're going to get into the $12,000 price points when you get into that ZT 5400 transmission. When I say those numbers, those transmissions get bigger and bigger and bigger. Well, Scag has brought a 61-inch model with a ZT 2200 transmission. So that's the first thing to be aware of. When you settle for a little bit smaller of a transmission like Scag has here, you need to be careful to make sure you are on a flat property. What kills transmissions is hilly properties and running those for extremely long periods of time. And it's important to know as we talk on this topic of budget zero-turn mowers, be very careful to not under-choose on your transmissions, but transmissions get expensive, as do engines. So this is one way we're able to keep these price points under a $5,000 tag. So that's first off, what you need to know about this Scag is it got a ZT 2200 transmission, not as big as some of the other mowers we're gonna talk about in this class. One thing I do like that Scag did on this model is that they went with the Briggs & Stratton PXI series engine. Of all of the Briggs & Stratton engines, this is probably my favorite. I think the most reliable, the most consistent engine that they have to offer. So it's a 24 horsepower, which I think is gonna be adequate for a 61-inch deck. And within that Scag line, all sorts of different deck options. This one is sporting their Hero cutting deck, which is gonna be a 3-blade system. Fuel capacity size is gonna be 3.5 gallons. You're gonna see a top speed of 7 miles per hour with cutting heights ranging from 1.5 to 4.5 inches. So this is just getting us rolling. Scag is a mower that is known as being a tank-like type feel. No different here with this. But one thing I will say in the lower versions of Scag, me being a bigger guy, it feels a little bit more constricted than some of the other models that we're going to talk about. You do have a really low center of gravity, which is always going to sport better on a hill. But there's no doubt with Scag, you're getting a rugged design, excellent cut quality, and the power to handle several acres easily. And scouring across the internet, the prices that I think you're gonna see on that Scag mower is around the tag of $4,825. So without further ado, let's jump to the next one. Hustler Raptor XD 54-inch. This mower stands out with its signature smooth track steering system, which gives you a super fluid and responsive control. This is something that on Hustler mowers, you really notice compared to competition, the smooth-like feel. There's something how they're setting these mowers up that you really get that feel. And to piggyback what I was saying on the Scag, you are now jumping to a ZT 2800 transmission. Why does that matter? Like I said, every time it gets bigger, you're talking about more expensive components. Well, a ZT 2800 transmission now becomes serviceable. And when you think of dealer quality type of mowers, you want serviceable transmissions. And that's why it's really critical. Like I said, you're jumping closer to this $5,000 price point. This is a transmission that you're gonna see on most of the other mowers, this ZT 2800 transmission. It's an affordable transmission, but keeps you under that price point of $5,000. So when you're going up the the hills, when you are spending long periods of time out on your mower, these transmissions will hold up significantly longer than I think that ZT 2200 transmission that we talked about before. Another theme that you'll see with these Hustler mowers is they have a little bit of a wider stance. I think they sit a little bit lower to the ground. Again, great for hillside type mowing. Another thing I really like about this XD series is that they're going to offer you Kawasaki engine options. You can get the Kawasaki FR691 V-twin engine. You're gonna notice a high back bolstered seat with armrests on this model, 7.5 mile/hour ground speed, only the 3-gallon fuel tank, 1.5 to 4.5 inch cutting increments. You're gonna see this pin type of system, the same thing you would have seen on the Scag model. This is a foot operated deck lift, which I think is really nice. And upon research of these models, it looks like you're getting a 10 gauge fabricated deck, which it looks like you only got 11 with the Scag. So a little bit thicker, heavier duty steel. With all of these models, you're gonna see heavy duty fabricated decks. And we're trying to give you the most bang for buck, the biggest deck widths possible under the $5,000 budget. To stay under that $5,000 budget, you're gonna have to go with the 54-inch rather than the 60-inch models you're gonna see in some of these other options, sporting that price tag of $4,999. Next up on the list, you're gonna see the Toro TIMECUTTER Max 60-inch model. Again, that ZT 2800 transmission. Toro has big time leveled up their game in the last year or two. Now they are giving you, just like these other models, access to the deck that you can flip up compartments and get easy access to belts, spindles, things of that nature. Just like that Hustler, you're gonna see a 23 horsepower Kawasaki engine. Toro across that industry is known for withstanding the test of time cut quality. When you think of Toro, you think of golf courses, and who better to trust than Toro? No different here, that you're getting tremendous cut quality with this Toro mower. Again, you're gonna see that pin system to raise and lower your deck with, again, a foot pedal. One thing that Toro does uniquely compared to some other brands is they're gonna give you a My Ride option, which would put you above that $5,000 price point. But needless to say, it is an option that gives you premium suspension compared to other options that are out there on the market. Toro, like the Hustler below this, has a 10 gauge fabricated deck. You're gonna see top speeds of 7 miles/hour. On this Toro Titan Max, you're getting a 5-gallon fuel capacity, a little bit more than the models before this, and you're going from 1.5 to a 5-inch cutting height. And like I said, it cannot be stressed enough, over 100 years of pro DNA course runs through the veins of every single mower that Toro builds, and you're gonna get this at a price point of $4,999. And another brand that has long-standing history that makes this list is the Gravely ZT XL 52-inch model. Gravely has such a long line of history building heavy-duty, rugged-like type mowers. This ZT XL 52 be no different. And they've definitely come through with a really slick new design this year that really tailors to that rugged component that Gravely is known for. Much like the last mower on our list, you're getting a great bang for buck quality here. Again, the ZT 2800 transmission, so you are in that serviceable class. You're getting the Kawasaki 23 horsepower engine. Gravely, I think, puts a bit of a more robust rear end on this machine with more protection around that engine. And Gravely does something a little bit different than all these models with the way that they set up their steering arms, that they can flip open and closed with a different style parking brake system. And because we're seeing very similar transmission engine options, again, you're gonna see a 7 mile/hour ground speed, a little bit larger than our smallest fuel capacity of 3.5 gallons of gas you can get in this thing. This does have a little bit less with an 11 gauge deck, but it does have a nice reinforced edge on this cutting deck that is fabricated. And I'd say probably amongst all the seats that we're seeing, this is probably the most plush with armrests. This might be the most comfortable seat among all of them that we're looking at. And you'll also notice up front, you're getting standard lights in the front so you can cut at dusk, which is something we're gonna see in our next model as well. Like I said, Gravely has a long-standing tradition of making rugged, excellent pieces of equipment, and they have been around for a long time. A great bang for buck option in that slot right there at a price point of $4,999. And in that final slot, you're gonna see a Bad Boy Avenger. Again, what we talk about so much on this channel is the value you receive from Bad Boy. You get more for less money. This one coming in at the least end of the price points of everything that we're looking at, but you still get ZT 2800 transmissions. You're still getting that serviceable transmission that's gonna be good for your large acreage. You are also going to get a 7-gauge fabricated deck, which is typically something you only see on commercial mowers and other classes. And what Bad Boy is known for is accessibility. Now, we talked about the long-standing tradition of Toro, the long-standing tradition of Gravely. Well, with Bad Boy, this is a company that started just back in 2002, which isn't no time at all, but it's a lot less than we're seeing in these other brands. But Bad Boy is such a fast-growing mower company, and it's because they're simply giving you more for less, and they have a great look. So this model that we're featuring is the ZT Avenger 60-inch model with the Kohler engine, which has a nice big air canister filter on it. You can get all sorts of different engine options. You can also get the Kawasaki we've seen in these other classes, but it will tip you right around the same price point as some of these other models. You'll also see the integrated lights that are on this model, like you saw in the Gravely below this. So this sports the best fuel capacity of all the models at 6.5 gallons. So you will not have to be refilling every time you're going out to cut your lawn. Again, with similar transmissions comes similar ground speeds up to 7 miles per hour on this model, 1.5 to 4.5 inch cutting increments similar to many of the models that we've seen. And although this model does not sport armrests, this does have a particular plushness to it that you will notice is much more comfortable than the models below this series. Again, you will have a foot adjustment pedal to raise and lower the deck with a spin dial system, which is unique compared to some of the other models that we have looked at. And this model coming in at a price point of $4,799 for a 60-inch model. Bad Boy has certainly taken the mower industry by storm, as have many of these models we have looked at today. So do you agree with my top 5 list? What is your top mower that you would say under that $5,000 price point? Let us know in the comments below. Until the next time, we'll see you.